How 13 Hands in Portland Did a Citizens Video for the 2012 Presidential Election by Alvin Adams et al. Who is the next Lincoln? If someone asked, who is the next Lincoln, how would one respond? This question launched a citizens video project last spring. The project says much about the city we live in and the country to which we pay our taxes. It took us 4 months and many hours to put it together. Its most salient feature? It is the work of free men and women working with their own talents and resources, free of any institution, officialdom, or authority. A political scientist might cite it as an example of a vibrant civil society, such as the hallmark of our nation's democracy, and particularly of the Portland culture. Engaged, unconventional, progressive, focused on results, team-spirited, and oriented to what we would like to think is the larger public good. This spirit is what gave rise to our video project and its intent to influence in some small way the ongoing presidential campaign. There were eventually 13 of us. We called ourselves the 13 Hands. If ever there was a fistful of grassroots pulled from the rich soils of Portland, we were it. A grab bag, scratch, pickup team of citizens. Some were true blue Oregonians, some old-comers and some newcomers, some senior and some not so senior, some former Republicans, some lifelong Democrats. We were from many walks of life: an historian, anthropologist, professional singer, physician, artist, retired diplomat, and a school teacher, to name a few, plus a visiting cousin, a substance abuse counselor who claimed to have been roped, blindfolded, duct-taped, and dragged to a meeting of interesting people. What we did, well, it surprised us all. We put our minds and hands together to make a video about Obama and Lincoln for broadcast to the world via today's new communications technologies, YouTube and others. And we submitted the end result to the Sundance Film Festival Shorts Competition. It all began by accident, as most worthwhile things do. It started with a chance conversation on the margins of a gathering of one of Portland's unique institutions, the Thirsters, an informal think tank of diverse men and women of even more diverse accomplishments. The Thirsters gather every Thursday evening. Get it? Thirsters, Thursday? For good cheer and animated talk, brought on by brief speakers who present themes of local, national, or global interest. What holds us together is incurable curiosity and the energy and wisdom of group's founder, eminent scholar of Southeast Asia, Bob Texter. And also important is something which used to be one of the fundaments of American politics: an abiding respect for the views of others, no matter how divergent. The LO Project, short for Lincoln Obama, emerged in April when Elliot Tremald, an historian and retired academic, made a presentation on Lincoln to the Thirsters. The talk inspired a few to ask, how does Lincoln relate to the 2012 election, and especially to Barack Obama? Joel Haugen, formerly Republican candidate for the 1st Congressional District in 2008, took the lead in pursuing this question. Mostly by happenstance, if the truth be known, Joel recruited a round dozen of men and women to examine Lincoln and Obama and to think of ways to bring the conclusions to the public. Other than a voiceover professional, a blues pop musician, and an actor Lincoln impersonator, all were amateurs at the art of video presentation and the technologies that make them possible. Over the course of the next 4 months, the group met every 3 weeks or so in a variety of interesting locales, including a railroad car and a film studio, but mostly in the home and gallery of artist Leslie Ann Butler, who served as our ever-gracious host. Attendees swelled and dwindled almost in tandem, it seemed, with the rhythms of the tides along the Oregon coast. The project evolved through a series of iterations, from an equal focus on both principles to eventually one which looked mostly at Lincoln and drew the appropriate conclusion with respect to Obama. Much research was conducted into the lives and public statements of each. The concept varied, from a tightly focused video of 3 to 5 minutes, which treated just a small number of themes, to a larger project in several parts. Not all who contributed were convinced of the exactness of the parallels between Lincoln and Obama. There were questions and much polite and respectful discourse on every aspect of the project, from the quotes to include the kind of music to score, copyright issues, and the intended audience, as well as the degree to which a partisan tone should dominate the product. Compromises were struck. Debate yielded to the pressures of time, family priorities, and day jobs which imposed deadlines. From this cauldron of creative energy and good intentions, a product emerged, one of good sense and good citizenship. By early July, we felt the need for an objective assessment of the product as it then stood. We convened a mini focus group of 4 more or less independent viewers. The venue was a vintage Pullman railroad car in the rail yard next to OMSI. 2 men of business, 2 female musicians. Their conclusion? Considerable more work was in order. With time running out and energies flagging, as is often the case with the work of committees, a couple of the team members stepped forward. They whipped the raw product into a coherent form, which turned out to be, in the view of many, persuasive, engaging, and accurate. Steve Holgate, the Lincoln impersonator, teased the substance into sharper focus. Mary McDonald Lewis, the actor, added mellifluous voiceovers. Tom Grant, the jazz pop artist, offered the thematic music. A $100 software package was employed for assembly. The rest of us had the good sense not to quibble with the product. What emerged 4 months after inception, not a professional job to be sure, but a workmanlike citizen's effort, earnest and plausible in a rugged sort of way. For many and varied reasons, we all hope that Obama will prevail for a second term. We all sincerely believe that there are instructive parallels with Lincoln. Not a full fit to be sure, but enough to engage. And we all note with sadness that the party of Lincoln today has left behind much of his legacy of magnanimous, pragmatic, just, and unifying governance, which still resonates with many Americans. The project speaks loudly about the country and our city, the volunteer spirit which launched it, a capacity to see beyond narrow interest, and to maintain faith in the public good, a taste for adventure which piqued all 13 hands, and the ability to compromise, which permitted the project to advance. These are qualities perhaps not unique to Portland, but they are ones found here in abundance, along with a formidable set of technical and communication skills spread widely throughout the community. Lastly, the video is nothing more, nothing less than a grassroots effort, an unadorned monument to what can be done by a few people of goodwill and willing hands, totally free of any institution or government mandate, with no resources save their own energies and aspirations. In these days of vast and mind-numbing challenge, this country's ultimate strength lies just there, in its citizens. Yes? Alvin Adams is a retired Foreign Service officer after a career of 30 years. He served 7 presidents, Johnson through Clinton, ultimately as the U.S. ambassador to Peru, Haiti, and Djibouti. He is a graduate of Yale and earned his law degree from Vanderbilt University. He was assisted by many hands in the editing of this piece. He is the newcomer hand to Portland.